Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the latest edition of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Elyachar, the chief content producer and writer of jakestake.com, a pop culture entertainment news website. If you're watching us on YouTube today, please give us a thumbs up, please subscribe, and please use whatever you can to build my YouTube audience. I really appreciate it. If you're listening to us on our audio platforms, thank you so much. Download this episode and more episodes. And not only that, please review and please also give us a 5-star rating. I really appreciate it. Today, I'm so excited to have one of my friends on. He is an 8-time Emmy winner. He's the entertainment reporter for The Pitch, Kansas City, and he's currently the digital content and video guru, videography guru for Lily and James Creative. So please help me welcome Michael Mackie to the podcast.
Yay! Thanks, friend. Thanks for having me on your podcast. I appreciate you very much.
Michael, I am always in awe of you, what you do. Congratulations. I'm not to mention, this guy is best local personality in The Pitch.
It was a hard-fought battle. I did not win last year, and to be perfectly honest, I did not think I was going to win best local personality this year, and then I did. So there you go. Props to me.
I am so proud of you because you definitely are. I'm going to pat you. I'm going to pat you on the back. This is me patting you on the back.
Thanks, friend.
Yeah, because Michael has done a lot of incredible things. He's met so many incredible people, and we'll get to that. So first, let's talk about your origin story. So when you get interested in journalism, how did that passion evolve into desire to pursue a career in the media industry?
I joke that growing up, I knew growing up that I always wanted to be in TV, on TV, or watching TV. I knew that my job would have some semblance of that. And so when I went to college, I went to the University of Iowa, and I was like, well, broadcast, that's what I'm going to go into. And that's what I did. And I got a job as an intern literally right out of college at the TV station that I watched growing up, KCCI in Des Moines, Iowa's news leader. And my career just kind of took off from there. Of course, I had to cut my teeth and grow and blossom just like everybody else. But yeah, KCCI was a great stomping ground to just learn and throw stuff against the wall and see what sticks. And I was kind of in the same boat with a lot of other 20-somethings who were fresh out of college. So we all sort of honed and curated our craft there together. And then I realized, it took me a minute, but then I realized, I'm actually pretty good at this. And so then I took my talents to Orlando for a hot minute, and then I ended up back here in Kansas City.
Which is amazing. And I got to give you credit because I've done multiple college internships and there's so many incredible people and lessons I've learned there. I got to give a shout out to a lot of my mentors, including Rob Lowe, formerly Fox 4 News in Kansas City, who now is in Denver. And speaking of Denver, the legendary Andrew Trujillo, formerly of KMGH. So both of them are amazing mentors. It's amazing that you learn so much interning.
Oh, I really did. And it's funny because the gal who sort of taught me everything I know about video production and talking to clients, her name is Wendy Lyons, bless her heart. She just retired last Friday after 40 years in the biz. And so I I crafted a very nice Facebook post to her, because without her, I don't think I would be such a success in this field. So shout out to the mentors who sort of coddle us and baby us and sort of lead us by the hand.
Absolutely. And I got to throw out 2 more names for me, Don Champion and Mark Stewart. Both of them are KMGH7, and I would not have been without Rob Lowe and those people. And also another friend of ours, Tess Compliment.
Oh, the Tess Compliment. Yes, I'm familiar with her.
Absolutely.
So those television, as you know, the television industry is very incestuous. So any market that you know somebody, 10 other people just because of that. So it's been fun to watch all my friends who have scattered across the country just from my very first station in Des Moines. And then, of course, the countless other friends who have, scattered from Kansas City and the Orlando markets. So like I said, I would like to say in every big city in the United States, I have a friend who I can crash on their couch if need be.
Same with me and some of my friends from Boulder, because a lot of my friends are doing amazing things. So it's amazing to see all of our friends succeed. However, we're not talking about all of our friends. We're talking about all about you, Michael. So we got to continue our conversation, and let's talk about who were the people that inspired your career as a journalist.
Well, I always, I was obsessed with, I sort of got raised on trashy tabloid talk shows. So I think I gravitate back to all of those hosts in the slew in the 90s, because there were, everyone had a talk show in the 90s. But I always sort of watched how each of them came together. I mean, each of them were a little bit different. Like Ricky Lake, she catered to the 20 somethings, and Maury, he was way over the top tabloid. But I always gravitated towards Oprah. Anytime anybody asks who would you have dinner with, it's the answer is always and will always be Oprah. She's kind of become the litmus, the barometer by which I do all my celebrity interviews.
And not to mention, and it's amazing because for me, you brought me back to the 90s. I got to give a couple people shout outs, because the late Regis Philbin, the late Barbara Walters, even Rosie O'Donnell, those three for me inspired me to have like a talk show esque, or not to mention the great 90s version of the Today Show with Brian Gumbel, Katie Couric, Ann Curry, and even that Lauer. So those are the people that inspired me.
Same. I mean, I really cut my teeth. I really grew up in the 90s, so it was fun to watch all those people do. Come on, Sally Jesse Raphael. Who doesn't love me some Sally Jesse? Come on.
I know, and her and I love her. And what makes her stand out was her red glasses. We all knew when we saw those glasses that meant Sally. When you see a Cooch Ball, you see Rosie O'Donnell. When you see Notre Dame, Regis Philbin.
Yes, and when you see what, you see Arsenio. So there you go. Everybody has their shtick.
Absolutely. We'll be talking about stick and how people can have them later on in our conversation. But I want to talk to you about some of the challenges that you face staying in our industry, and how did you overcome those obstacles?
I was very persistent. I never took no for an answer, and I never took anything personally. And I think that is sort of in television, you have to have an incredibly thick skin. And were all of my celebrity interviews, did I knock each and every one of them out of the park? No, I did not. But, I learned from all of them, especially when I was a baby entertainment reporter and I didn't know any better. I didn't know what to ask. And so I sort of learned through trial and error, the questions to ask and what not to ask, and sort of how to nuance each interview and at least find some nugget of some personal nugget to sort of pepper them with, so you felt like that you had a connection with the person you were talking to. Because in any celebrity interview, usually you get 4 to 5 minutes. So first you have to make a connection, then you have to pepper in some really good questions that get you the sound bites that you're going to use in your story. And then you try to get one zinger in that just sort of throws them for a loop. So it's really like you get a laugh or a giggle or a snort or a chortle out of them. So that's always been kind of my mantra.
And not to mention, I gotta go. If you guys look for Michael Mackie's reel, you'll find so many amazing things. I gotta say, speaking of that, I got to see your conversation with Meg Ryan, and with that interaction is classic.
Meg Ryan was a good sport. She just sort of came out guns a-blazing, just sort of cheeky and tongue-in-cheek, and I just met her energy one-on-one, so we goofed around a lot. I cannot even tell you if we got to the interview portion. I think we just made barbs and jokes and wisecracks for 4 minutes, but sometimes that's what you got to do.
Absolutely. And I got to say, I was a little nervous when I saw Anna Nicole, the late Anna Nicole.
Oh, Anna Nicole Smith, bless her heart. She was so out of her mind on allegedly out of her mind on God knows what. And the interview was just going south fast. And so I wanted to somehow wake her up or pep her up a little bit. And so I just quickly shifted gears and I was like, Anna, pop quiz. And you could just tell as soon as I clapped my hands that she was like, what? And I just asked her the most insipid questions that popped into my head, like how many people were in the Jackson 5? When was the War of 1812? Is your skeleton on the inside or outside of your body? And well, just trust me. Go to michaelmackie.com and you'll see if she answered correctly or not. She did not.
Oh no! But also another one, you got to interview legends and legendary duos like Joan and Melissa before the Oscars.
I did. Joan Rivers, I've interviewed her several times, Joan and Melissa, and they were always quite fun. Those are one of the things where you'd ask like a question and that was it. So you better make sure your one question was a really good one because they were going to talk and they were going to interrupt each other for the next 3 or 4 minutes. I was looking back today. It was fact I was going because I put a list of all the celebs that I'd interviewed over the years. It's funny, dude. I have interviewed 10 Academy Award winners. 10. That's nuts to me. It's bonkers. So.
Oh my God, that must have been insane.
Here's another thing too. No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I was cleaning out, I don't know, some boxes in the basement, and I found a very dusty box of old beta tapes circa, I'm going to guess 2000, maybe late 90s. I don't know. But anyway, there was an interview in there, I swear to God, with Jamie Lee Curtis. And so I didn't even remember interviewing Jamie Lee Curtis. So I'm going to have to get that digitized and see what that's all about. I can't tell you what it was for. I literally have nothing. It just said M2 Jamie Lee Curtis interview. And I was like, okay. So I guess that makes number 11 Academy Award winner.
Oh yeah, that's amazing. I love Jamie Lee Curtis. I hope it's that I would love to see what's digitized. I really hope it's for like Freaky Friday or something. That's one of my all-time favorite movies of hers.
Maybe. I mean, when did I feel like it was like 2000 or 2001. I don't know. I'll have to go back and look at her IMDb page.
I think it might be in the mid 2000s because it was Lindsay Lohan as well. Because I remembered that guitar solo at the end and seeing her. I don't know if she played a guitar or anything, but that was probably one of the most epic moments for me movie wise in the 2000s.
You know, the only person that I've always wanted to interview but never have is someone that you have interviewed, and I am so jealous. It's Dolly.
Really? Which one?
Yeah, Dolly Parton.
Oh my God, Dolly. Guys, for those of you who don't know, on my earlier versions of jakestake.com, I interviewed the legendary Dolly Parton, but however, I had to fight 24 other reporters on the call.
I don't care. I would have like knocked those 24 other reporters out of the running, and I would have just carried on a conversation with her. I've been in the same room as Dolly, not concerts, but like in the same room as her twice, and I've never gotten close to her. So that if you're watching Dolly, and you probably are, just know that you are the very last, you are the zenith, the pinnacle, the nadir of celebrities I want to interview. Well, you and Madonna, but Dolly comes first.
Absolutely, Dolly comes first. And by the way, I heard from the grapevine she was in Kansas City earlier, and I was earlier this year, and for her to promote the Imagination Library, and I was so angry that I could not. That it was at the Jewish Community Center when I worked there, and I was so angry that no one told me.
I was out of town that day. Yeah, she was in Topeka and she was in Kansas City for a super hot minute.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to have had a chance to be in that same room I agree with you, Michael. To be in the same room with Dolly and maybe interview Dolly, that would be in person, not with 2,000 reporters, would be a career highlight.
That would be, I could die. I could honestly die happy. So there you go.
All right. So in addition to everybody that we mentioned before, what have been some of your most memorable interviews that stand out to you?
Well, people always ask me what were your best and your worst. I can honestly say probably my best were 2 women who I went in thinking they were going to be divas, and they were not. It was Jennifer Lopez and Jennifer Aniston, both who were at they were stratospheric levels of their career. I mean, they still are, but I mean, they were like white hot. And I don't know why I went in having this expectation that they were going to be like divas and problematic, and they couldn't have been nicer, more gracious, more chatty, more engaging. They just checked every single box that I had. Jenny, haha. She was indeed, Jennifer Lopez was indeed Jenny from the block the day that I talked to her. She could not have been more authentic. And it was funny because she had just, this is back in 2000, maybe 2001. She had just opened up a restaurant in Pasadena called Madres. And I was joking with her because you couldn't get reservations for like 6 months. That's what a hot ticket it was. And at the end of the interview, I had maybe, I don't know, 20 seconds left. And I saw the clock going tick, 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 tick. I said, girl, who does a boy have to know around here to get a good table at Madres? Because I knew I was going out to LA in like 3 weeks. And she goes, well, that would be me. Reach out to, and I don't remember the person. And I did. And I sent them this tells you how long ago it was. I sent them a VHS tape and I said, see, from Jennifer Lopez's mouth to your ears. And by God, I got a table for 6 on a Saturday night. Shocker. That's probably my best like full circle celebrity story moment.
That is just insane that Jennifer Lopez did that. You got that through J-Lo, and you got the people to get you that table at that hot restaurant. I'm sorry if I got to pick up my jaw again.
No, he seriously was like, I'm sorry, and you are, and I was like, Michael Mackie, like BFFs with J-Lo. And I said, just watch the videotape when it comes in. And he burst out laughing and he goes, man, something like, you got some cojones or something. I don't remember the exact thing. He goes, I'll get you in on whatever day. Because I had a super small window of being in LA. So, and it was really good too. I had like shrimp and plantains or I don't know, it was something Cubanesque, I think.
That would have been a great combo. I love both of them very much because those are amazing. And I gotta say, that must be on your bucket list moment, a bucket list moment for you.
Well, I was there and I was kind of like looking around, and it was definitely a who's who. Like I felt way out of place. And I sat sort of kitty corner from, oh my gosh, I'm totally Hispanic. One
Mark
Oscar.
Anthony, Shakira.
No, it was a woman. It was a woman. Yeah, I see what you did there, Mark Anthony. No, not. Did Salma Hayek? Was it
Gloria
Salma Hayek?
Estefan.
Won an
Celia
Oscar.
Cruz.
Okay, it'll come to me. I promise. Penelope Cruz.
Right, I'm just what?
Penelope Cruz. I sat kitty corner from Penelope Cruz. So there you go.
Oh wow!
I should have said Pen. I should have said, Pen, how are you, girl? And she would have said, M squared, what's up? No, she wouldn't. She didn't know me.
Yeah, that would have been hysterical if you did that. And that's pretty cool that you got to have the chance to do that. And then also Jennifer Aniston, you brought up. I was actually watching your interview with Matthew Perry.
Oh yeah, Matthew Perry. He was in the throes of his addiction when I interviewed him, according to him, last year when he released his memoir. It was for a movie that they actually had to shut down. I think it was Serving Sarah or Saving Sarah, something. Anyway, in the middle of the movie, they had to shut down production so he could go to rehab. Servicing Sarah, Saving Sarah, I don't remember. But anyway, I interviewed him for that particular movie, and it makes me wonder if he was strung out during our interview. He certainly didn't come across that way, but if the timeline adds up, he was full tilt into his addiction during that period. Wow.
And it's just amazing that he masked that while you were able to, it's just amazing. It's just awestruck because that man did incredible work, and not just for television, but also for trying to help people get out of their circumstances. So I got to say, put a moment of silence for him. Thank you, Matthew Perry. All right, let's try to get some more up. Let's move it upbeat, shall we, Michael?
Let's do it.
All right, so let's talk about your column for the Pitch Kansas City. It's called 4 Inane Questions. So can you describe the origin story of this column to my audience?
Well, it's the interviewer in me. I always like to ask questions, and usually they're probing questions. Well, I decided to completely pivot and just pitch this particular column to the pitch. And I said, well, how about if I ask super stupid, insipid, moronic questions? And they were like, okay, we'll see how it goes. And now I'm probably 200 columns in, and it has become sort of my claim to fame here in the Metro, just because people really, who knew that people liked reading about people who were answering stupid questions, e.g., what are your thoughts on liquid soap? That was a stupid question that I asked like 2 weeks ago. So they are pretty inane. That's thus the name of the column. Hashtag for inane questions.
Awesome, awesome. However, you also still get to have the opportunity to speak with some celebrities. And earlier this year, you had a plethora of people that I really admired. I got to say, Ruben Studdard and Clay Aiken, 20 years ago, I don't want to age myself, but I was in 8th grade when that season took place. And that's why I got on to how I fell in love with music talent competition shows. So, what was it like talking to them during their 20th anniversaries?
Ruben Studdard and Clay Aiken, literally to this day, 20 years later, are like an old married couple. They legit finished each other's sentences. They were quippy. They snipped at each other. It was funny because Ruben was running late, and Clay was calling him because he was late, thinking that he was going to miss the interview. He did not. He just got the times mixed up because he was on one coast and Clay was on another. It was pretty funny to just watch them. So I just let them just banter back and forth. I was the first interview of the day, so they had some catching up to do before I even jumped in and started my interview. But it was a good. That one was perfect because the publicist gave me 20 minutes, which, as you know, is an eternity. You're lucky to get 10, maybe 15 at the most. And so I just kept right on rolling with it. And then the last big one that I had out of the complete clear blue sky was Derek Huff from Dancing with the Stars. And so at the end of the interview, he said, "Hey, are you coming to the show?" He's on tour with his like a World of Dance tour, and he said, "Are you coming to the show?" And I was like, "Derek, of course I'm coming to the show." I wasn't coming to the show. And he was like, "Okay, well, that's great. I'm excited. Will you pop backstage and say hi?" And I was like, "Of course I will pop backstage and say hi, Derek." Crazy. And it was a phone interview and not a Zoom interview like it usually is. I don't remember where he was. Maybe he was on a bus or something and didn't have Wi-Fi, but it was a phone interview. And he was like, "Well, how am I going to know it's you?" And I jokingly said, haha, "Derek, this one's easy. I got this. When I see you, I will yell Marco and then you will yell Polo. Deal?" And he burst out laughing. He thought that was the funniest thing he ever heard. He goes, "Mackie, I don't care who I'm talking to or what I'm doing. I swear to God, if you yell Marco, I will stop what I'm doing and yell Polo." And when we got backstage, there he was. And I literally turned to my friend Carrie and I was like, "Watch this," thinking it was more like Willie or Woney. And I swear to God, I yelled Marco, and he went like he got the joke and he turned around. And then there were a sea of people standing there, so he didn't know who did it. And so I went like that. He goes, "Polo," and he walked over and we had a moment and it was really nice. Thank you, Derek Huff, for that moment, because it was awesome.
I gotta say that was epic, because the thing is, I've been trying to get Derek on my show or my platform for years and sadly haven't. But I'm so happy for you, and that must have made your year.
It was a pretty. My friend Carrie was like, "What is happening?" And I'm like, "I'm kind of a big deal." So
Alrighty, I gotta talk to you about, because the thing is, someone thought, one guest that we particularly like, and I had on my Instagram and saw her show, thought I was you. Do you want to know who it was?
wait, somebody thought you were me on what?
When I went to see their show, Caroline
Oh,
Ray thought I was you.
Really?
Yeah, Caroline. I was telling her about a podcast and
At
everything. She was like,
like
Michael, and I'm
afterwards or actually in the show?
afterwards.
Well, I want to hear this story. How did that come about?
Okay, so I was bringing up a podcast. I was introducing myself, and I told CJ Merriman, who was touring with Caroline Ray and they were at the comedy club of Kansas City, and they thought, and I told her I was about podcast. He was like, or website, Jake Stick, and like, are you Michael? I'm like, no, I'm Jacob. So nice to meet you. And I adore Caroline because I'm a huge fan of Sabrina Teenage Witch, and of course Hollywood Squares, the Whoopi version. And it was great to see her in action, but it was like so mistaken identity.
Well, Caroline we started out the interview and she was horizontal because she had been in a car accident the day before we talked, and she was like, I'm sorry that I'm not my usual peppy self, but my neck is killing me from this car accident, blah, 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 words. And so I sort of like kept it rather low key. And by the end, she was like, well, I'm sitting up now. I hope you're happy. And she was super chatty. So yeah, Caroline Ray was she gets a gold star. She was a really, really good interview, despite the fact that I thought it was going to be a little low key because of her fender bender the day before.
That's amazing. And I gotta say this, you had country royalty, Winona Judd.
Ooh, Winona was a good get. Okay, so here's the deal. Anytime anybody famous ever comes to Kansas City, I will reach out to their publicist or to the venue or whatever and say, hey, I see that so-and-so is coming to town. Can I get an interview? And 9 out of 10 times, it's literally, no, absolutely not. Who are you? No. And then the other one time, it's like, maybe, we'll see. Probably not. Well, with Winona, they said, well, maybe we'll see, whatever. Well, I said, hey, here's the deal. I've already interviewed Winona before. This was 100 years ago for Lilo and Stitch. She did the soundtrack for Lilo and Stitch. That tells you how long ago it was. So I sent the publicist I sang a duet with Winona of A Hunka Hunka Burnin' Love from Elvis. And I said, see, Winona loves me. We're practically BFFs, always and forever. And by God, the next day, Winona called me and we talked for a half hour. And that's probably been my best interview all year because she was super candid. It was just a few months after her mom passed away and she had just had a granddaughter. It was a whole thing. So
I gotta say, I'm so glad you got to reunite with Winona.
yeah, and I made her do the duet with me again of A Hunka Hunka Burnin' Love because why not? Actually, I said, Winona, do you remember me? And she said, no. And I said, how, seriously? We sang a duet of A Hunka Hunka Burnin' Love. And she was like, yeah, I got nothing. And I said, well, can we do it again just to refresh her memory? And she was like, which part? And I was like, the chorus, duh. So Winona, she and I are besties. Ginger powers activate.
All righty. So besides Dolly, who else is on your list of dream interviews?
Well, like I said, Madonna is right up there. I'm trying to think. I've checked almost every box. Like I always wanted to interview Lindsay Wagner, the Bionic Woman. I always wanted to interview Linda Carter, the Wonder Woman. So pretty much anybody who, yeah, Dolly and Madonna. And I'm trying to think, maybe I feel like I need a really big A-lister. So maybe like The Rock, maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
I'll keep my fingers crossed for you for Dolly, Madonna, and The Rock.
What a mixed bag that is. Oh, I lied. Oprah. I would kill to interview Oprah. Actually, I would just like to be in the same orbit as Oprah. Can I just be in the same room and just, absorb all of her Oprah-ness? Is that an option? That's what I would like.
Absolutely. And I would love to, if I had the opportunity, I would love to hear her stories because of the people she interacted with, like Nelson Mandela and of course Tina Turner.
And how she, like any interviewer, she has a few horrible ones in the mix. Like her very first interview with Elizabeth Taylor, she said was the worst interview that she's ever done because Elizabeth didn't want to talk about anything. And so what are you going to talk about? Elizabeth's perfume for an hour or her diamonds, her white diamond? I mean, so it's funny how a celebrity can humble even Oprah.
Absolutely. Not to mention, I would love to learn her interview with Whitney, because that interview, her 2009 interview with Whitney, remains one of my all-time favorites because this was Whitney post breakup, post return to album, and it would have been great to learn about that long conversation.
Yeah, and we only got to see what Oprah aired. It kind of makes me wonder, what hit the cutting room floor, because sometimes a publicist will call me and be like, "Yeah, you can't use that question," or so I'm like, okay. So it makes me wonder what hit the cutting room floor on Oprah or on
Same here. Yeah, same here. So as 2023 wraps up and 2024 is almost here, you are probably one of the best people I get to ask this question about. So, if you're looking for if people are looking to learn how to brand themselves in 2024, what several pieces of advice could you give my audience?
Well, that has become my big boy job. That I work for a local boutique marketing agency, and I do personal branding for people. And it's been an interesting. It has been an interesting learning curve, because I never really realized how much effort and energy it takes into creating someone else's personal brand. And I joke that personal branding is a lot like that old philosophical adage where if a tree falls in the woods and no one hears it, did it actually fall? Well, personal branding is like if you do a bunch of really amazing, powerful things and no one knows about it, did they actually happen, or did they actually mean anything, or did they actually have an impact? So there you go. That's my little quip on what personal branding is. And so I've sort of learned how to, it's very schizophrenic, I've learned how to write in other people's voices. Haha. For example, today I worked on a chef, an author, and a cybersecurity expert. So that is a very strange conglomeration, but it's all in a day's work. So, and tips for personal branding: be your best, genuine, authentic self online, because anything else people will be able to see right through. Like, you're a perfect example of being your best, authentic, genuine self online, dude. So props to you. You have a very strong, very genuine personal brand.
Michael, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Coming from you, that means everything. So thank you.
You are welcome, young man.
All righty, so let's start wrapping up our conversation. So, last question, are you ready?
I'm ready. Hit me.
All righty, Michael, where can they find your work, and also where can they connect with you on social media?
I am at M2ESQ. That's M squared Esquire. So I'm at M2ESQ on all social media, and then obviously on my website, where I blog and I have all my lovely and talented celebrity interviews, and that would be Michael Mackie of michaelmackie.com. So
Awesome. So, guys, have you missed an episode of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar podcast? Visit our channels on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Podchaser, Spotify, and Spreaker. It is Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. Now, are you on social media? Because I'm on social media too. Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. And if you want to hear or see more of my interviews, or want to know what's going on with Masked Singer Season 10, or what happened last season during America's Got Talent, well, head to jakes-shake.com. Once again, jakes-shake.com. Michael, it was an honor and privilege to talk with you. Thank you so much for taking time in your schedule to speak with me today. I really appreciate it.
Well, right back at you. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. Thanks.
Awesome. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Until the next time, have a great one, everybody. Goodbye.